No, I don't.
We are live.
Oh, you're okay. Somebody sent me a thing in the train. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. We're gonna. This is not. This is the November.
It's the same exact
Oh,
agenda.
got it. Okay, sorry. We're gonna call to order the December 2024 Economic Development Commission. We do a roll call vote. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. Director McLaughlin,
I am here.
Michelle House, Tony Oto, present. Gata Abdulaziz Fahmy, JP Hotchbaum,
Here.
Larry Calvert,
Sure.
Ethan Tudor-Leon, Patrice Gallagher, John Drobos.
Present.
Okay, we have enough for Deepa, Trustee Kumar. Okay, we have enough for quorum. Let's move on to, if everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from October 16th, if I could get a motion to approve the minutes
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
and vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moves on to number 3A, new business review of the 2025 TIF and BDT budgets.
Cool. Good. All right. So, as we were speaking earlier, we actually had a November agenda, but we couldn't get a quorum, so we postponed that. That was going to be a presentation on our proposed budget, but now that we're in December, this is actually a presentation on the approved budget. So, this was approved by the village board on Monday evening, and I'm going to go over the 4 TIFs and the BDT and talk about some of the funding and the projects that are associated with each one of those to hopefully spur some economic development and make some investment into those particular areas, and which are all geographically related regarding TIFs and BDT. So I'm going to be doing all the work up here on the screen, and so we can actually see where we are. And on the spreadsheet is the approved budget, and then the page after that is just a map showing where they are static, but we're going to use GIS up here for conversation. So starting in TIF 3, which is the largest, is North Avenue. So we're going to drive up here up to North Avenue, and then we're going to talk about, you can see, so this is 83, this is Villa, this is the extent of it, and then it goes all the way down here to right about here. So that whole corridor is TIF 3. And so one of the things, top on the list, is surveying for $50,000. And what that is for is that so the village can go in and take surveys of the 50-foot area of all of these lots to work with IDOT to put this back as usable property. Right now, it's right away that IDOT came through and took back in the day that was never used. And there are some property owners that onesie, twosie went back and got it. But what we like to do is, as one cohesive project, submit to IDOT a vacation of right-of-way, dedicating it back to land so that it is usable and buildable for the property owners that are adjacent to it.
Is that only on the south side of the street?
It is only on the south side of the street. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But not for new businesses, it's just for the property owners, right?
It's for the property owners. So new business or not, doesn't matter. It is for those property owners. Yeah. So everyone I can go back and say, because as you can see, they're already utilizing these areas. And they're very restricted on what they can and cannot do. So what we would like to do is actually put the property line back where it was originally, and it's a 50-foot reduction, so that they can have adequate parking, or actually come forward and redo their parking lot so they don't have to follow these really goofy guidelines that IDOT gives them, and actually make it part of the lot. And so
Are they currently paying like property tax on the property?
Nope.
So it's gonna increase their property size?
It will increase their property size and therefore put all this back on the tax roll and give them the rights to actually utilize it. Like, look at
Yeah.
this. This is, I mean, come on.
Well,
That's
I'm saying,
all
is
parking in the
anybody-
right of way.
Is anybody in violation? Obviously, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's all
Yes,
kinds of violations.
significant, yes, but it's, it's been like that forever kind of scenario, so IDOT's not
Sure.
pressing anybody on it. And they've already acknowledged that they're never gonna use it because they already did their improvement and they didn't need it. So we wanna go in, but they're not gonna give it up unless we actually take action
Sure.
and go ask for it. So we budgeted 50,000 to survey, and this is significant, it's something like 7 acres back on the tax rolls, when you add it all up down the whole corridor. So, we've made initial conversation with them, we're early stages, and so we budgeted those dollars to get those appropriate plats from a surveyor to get that done. So that is one of our goals for next year for TIF 3.
Makes sense.
There's always just a legal amount, and we put in $20,000 for legal. That is a variety of different things, reviewing the plats that we just discussed, or doing a negotiation on a land acquisition. So it's just legal costs. So we put $20,000 in there.
So
Yeah.
if that puts more land back on the tax roll,
Yeah.
how soon does that get reassessed?
It will be assessed when when the pin is created. So
Oh,
when we
okay.
record it, then the assessor gets that plat, and then they assign a value at that time.
So they'll all be done at one time?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we would be doing it as one
Sure. Yeah.
thing. It's
Okay.
no more onesie twosies and relying on the property owner to do it.
To take the
We're
initiative.
gonna do that action through TIF.
Okay. Has nobody's been negative?
I was gonna ask.
No, actually, people have asked us, help me,
Sure.
because IDOT's a bottomless pit, I can't get anywhere.
Sure.
So yeah, I've actually been the other, hey, what's happening?
How's it going?
Hi, Ethan.
Sorry for running late, guys.
No, it's all right, we just started. Anybody here? You.
Alright.
Yeah, so no, I've actually been the opposite, please
Yeah,
help
yeah.
me.
Wonderful.
So, yeah. All right, so the next up is in the North Avenue Townhome Parking. So over on the west side, we have the North Avenue Townhomes. And in front of that is this frontage road, which as you can see is still in the same 64 right-of-way that we were talking about earlier. But it is the village's responsibility for this south part. So there's like a median right here. So this actually means something. This is
It's a guardrail, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. This line is the jurisdictional change between the village and IDOT. So we, the village, would like to go in and re-stripe on the south approximately 45-degree. We still have to do the engineering and draw it, and stripe 45-degree angle parking across the entire south side of this, and eliminate all parking on the north side. Instead of making it this, gauntlet to drive through, shift the traffic, still keeping it one way, but shift the traffic to the north so that it is a continuous parking, which will significantly increase the number of available parking stalls up here. And then by doing that, you have a thoroughfare for emergency vehicles, for access.
People double park there all the time, and we deliver there
Yeah.
constantly. and
Yeah.
there's like-
All the time.
People are
Correct.
jamming it up. I mean,
Yep, it's crazy. We don't even have to extend the width. This is just striping. It's engineering because we do have to engineer to make sure that everything still meets our requirements because of the public right of way. But it's going to be, and signage, no parking on this side. Every so often we're going to have to do a handicap stall, because it's public parking, so that kind of stuff. So we're going to spend some dollars to open this up, which we are hoping will help increase overall property values because we know there's inadequate parking on site. And so this is what the village can do for not much expense and not much from a
Plus
construction
it'll
standpoint.
beautify it a little bit. I mean,
Yep.
it looks,
Exactly, right.
On
And
top
so
of
the perception is, oh my God, and then you change it and fix it, you're like, oh, that's not so bad. So plus, you actually increase the number of parking stalls, which is one of the biggest problems.
Win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win. So we budgeted for that.
Is there any potholes, like the asphalt repair?
No, we're good on the street. So yeah, Public Works checked it out and we're good on that. So this would be just a striping and signage plan. Yeah, yep.
6-5, right?
That's TIF 3.
TIF 3.
We're in TIF
Oh,
3,
that's
North
TIF
Avenue.
3?
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna be in TIF 3 the
North
whole
Avenue,
column until I jump over.
parking.
So, question mark,
Yeah.
there's 4 buildings that just have a red square around the entire building, the other ones are
Yep.
divided up. Is
Correct.
that because those buildings have gone condo?
These are individually owned,
Uh-huh.
and these are owned by
The
a
same.
single entity and have combined them all into a single pin. Yep. Yep.
It's 5.
1, 2, yep, 5, correct, yep.
Have those other ones always been individual units like that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. This was how everything was platted originally when it was created.
It's
And then-
still, one owner can own the 5, like the
Yes,
one column, it's just those 5 are owned by the same entity.
correct, and they
But
went
somebody
through.
owns the whole building
That is
for
correct.
the other ones.
That is
They're
correct.
just-
They went through and combined it all into one pin, so they weren't paying, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Six.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 14 tax bills? So you pay one tax bill because they own the whole thing, and then they just rent it out. Yep. So these are all individually owned. This over time accumulated them all. I think is it 2 owners across the 5?
No, it's one owner, it's Flapianca's.
It's 1 owner across the 5. Okay. Yeah.
Everybody else on there, you have to be careful. Wherever there's a square, each one of those squares has one parking space.
Yeah,
But
that's-
over the years, they've sold the townhouse and that parking spot.
Yeah. So these
So, yeah,
these are
different
individual
owners.
parcels.
Wow.
It's
So each town.
how not to do development.
Yeah.
101. This is yeah,
Do
not
they
okay.
enforce it somehow? I mean, or
It's
do they tow, like if you're in the wrong spot?
I
You know, yeah.
I don't know. This is all private property
Got
back
it.
here. Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. Yeah. So what we can do is the public realm, and so that's what that is. The next 2 we have demolition and remediation. Remediation is basically environmental cleanup. If you got asbestos in a building, you got to get rid of it. That's remediation. If you have contaminated soils and you got to get rid of it, that's remediation. So it's a general remediation number for any buildings that we would demolish based on the number underneath there for capital outlay called land assembly. So those all 3 go together. The capital outlay is the acquisition of the property, but then the other contractual services is the remediation and then the ultimate demolition. That's how that's lined up. So we've got budgeted $500,000 for demolition. There's a property again on Monday night that the board approved an agreement with the wall wax. If you saw that, that is this house right here and this garage and whatnot. This is a TIF 3 eligible expense for acquisition, which is the North Harvard property. It's itemized under the capital outlay. And so there's going to be a small demolition cost to make this go away. So it's a house in a clearly commercial area that is, it's not supposed to be there really anymore, but it is. And we had a lawsuit that we had to settle, and it's a TIF eligible expense. So we're going to acquire that, flatten this, make this green space until someday that we need to basically make it a stormwater basin. So that other future development can happen in the area. So it's a buy it now, hold, and then use it when we need it.
Yep.
Yep.
So that demolition and remediation costs, those are directly tied both just to that one?
No,
property?
not just to.
Okay.
No. Their demolition cost is in there, but it's going to be like maybe $150,000. The rest of it is for other demolition of
Is that earmarked already? Or is it like the other 350,000?
We haven't gone out to bid yet.
Okay.
Approximately, yeah. The rest of it will be for demolition of other acquisitions with the land assembly of $2.5 million.
Okay.
So going down the line, then everyone has to do an audit. And then, the facade grant, the tenant grant, and the site grant. We budgeted 3 for each for next year. We're hopeful. And so let's put the money in there so that there's no, oh boy, we got 2. Well, great, we budgeted 3.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And technically it's 9 because it's 3 on each.
Okay.
So we're hopeful. It's a big corridor. People are doing things, including new signage and new parking lots. So like, if someone's coming up and, hey, I don't have the money to do that, but I want to do something, great. Here's the grant that's now available. Let's get you over that hump to finish out the project in its entirety. So we did budget
Excellent.
those. And then,
Very good.
yeah. And then the other one is land assembly, which we're budgeting $2.5 million for land assembly. This is, we can talk about it a little bit more. So this strategy is to try and acquire 3 to 3.5 acres contiguous to one another. So instead of buying one lot here and one lot here and one lot here, we want to try and go and get a critical mass so that we can have a 3-acre redevelopment site. And this is approximately 3 acres for reference. So if we were able to acquire, say here, that's a nice 3-acre redevelopment site, right? And then that rest of that remediation and demolition money would go and make it a flat, ready for market site.
Gotcha.
What is that property now? Is that an auto repair?
What this particular one
Yeah, or
is
you're just
not
pointing out
auto.
that
Yep,
one, you're
this
not-
is Dream, and this is the Chinese restaurant. Is
China
sorry,
House.
that's right here. Chinese restaurant here. This is where community economic development used to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and this is the Chinese restaurant here. So, yeah, this very easily could be $2.5 million. Just that. And that's
what
gets
would
us
we
to
do
3
with it in
acres.
the future? What, buy 3.5 acres? Are we?
That gives you 3.5 acres. Will give you enough to create stormwater on site and 2 1-acre developable sites. Yep. Yep. So if you get 3, you get to that
So
critical
we're
mass.
actively creating parcels that we can then promote to somebody else
Yeah.
to come in and buy.
Yep.
Because we've assembled.
Yep, correct, because
Okay.
land assembly is the hardest part. They want to be able to buy the acreage that they need from one person instead of saying, all right, I need a contract with you, I need a contract with you,
Right.
and all the terms need to be the same, and we need to all close within, 12 hours of each other.
Right.
Okay.
We are willing to do the legwork. That's the point of TIFs, is that do land assembly, it's clearly a TIF eligible expense, to package it all together into a nice, neat little box, and then say, hey, broker world, now this is ready to go. Bring us everything you got. Yeah. So that is the strategy. Spending $2.5 million on land assembly. Yeah, and then just not that I'm saying I'm going to buy this, but like this, you can kind of see with your eye how that squares off a nice 3.5 acre site, right? I'm not saying I'm buying this, just as a visual, right?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of these up and down the corridor. This whole block is 3.5 acres. So it's those. If you can kind of start
Is that like
visualizing what
Yale
we're
and
looking for.
Princeton, or what are those?
Which one is this?
Approximately.
This one's Michigan. So if you went down in order, yeah, Princeton. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. This is Princeton.
Harvard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, this one's a little bit deeper. So, maybe this is getting to 3 3/4, right? So, yeah. And then you can do stormwater in the back shared, and then 2 corporate builds, drive-through, restaurant, whatever. It actually opens it up instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 property owners.
Right.
No one in their right mind who is going to do a corporate build is going to have 8 separate contracts. We got to get over that hump in order to do some redevelopment. Yeah. So that's what that is all about. And then, as we talked about the North Avenue property, that deal was cut on Monday night. So, TIF eligible expense.
North Harvard.
The North Harvard property. Oh, did I say North? Sorry.
Ardmore. But
Oh, North
you said North Ardmore, but
North Harvard property. Sorry. So that's TIF 3. Any questions on TIF 3? Cool. Going to TIF 5. Over by.
I guess I just got one.
Yeah.
I got one question. It doesn't pertain just to this, but
Okay.
so if you could explain to the numbers, so that I see we have a revenue and then a capital
Yes.
expenditure that is more than the revenue.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
that's just. Can you explain? Because it happens in obviously all these TIFs.
Yep.
Maybe just.
So the revenue is what we collect that particular year. And then we have our total expenditures, which are for this particular year. What isn't on here is what's sitting in the account.
Okay.
So TIF 3 has a surplus right now.
So yeah,
So
this is just 1 year.
That's just 1 year, exactly. That's just 1 year.
Okay.
It doesn't show the
Got
the fund balance. Technically, we haven't gotten our audit back yet, and so the fund balance is plus or minus some. But we have $4 million plus or minus sitting in the account currently.
Okay.
TIF is supposed to spend the money because that's how you encourage growth and economic development. Sitting on it actually doesn't do anything. So this strategy is actually to spend those dollars, bring it down so that before this TIF expires, we've actually done something.
Reinvest.
Yep,
back in.
exactly right. Yep.
Got it. Okay, I just the numbers there.
You're right. Same idea. It's
Okay.
across the board. Yep. Next up, TIF 5. That's over it's Villa Avenue, south of Great Western. So this is the TIF 5 area. So, you know, let's do more brewing. Some guys over here.
Actually, I'm one building next door, I think.
Oh, did I hit you wrong?
I'm
Oh,
a little
sorry.
smaller.
So what we have in here, so we have an engineering. So this is just for engineering, just design work. The connection from Park Boulevard to the Prairie Path. So if we zoom in one more, we have Park Boulevard here, and we have all these parking spaces on the north side of Park Boulevard.
South side.
Huh?
South side, sorry, just, the north,
No.
I apologize. I thought you meant north. I apologize.
That's okay.
North side.
The north side of Park Boulevard, which is on the south side of the Prairie Path, these have no pedestrian connectivity to the rest of everything and the commercial stuff to the north. So we have dollars in there to engineer a pedestrian connection from this area to what we call the Prairie Path, which is here. Now, I increased that to $200,000 so that I can also look at the Prairie Path in this location and this parking lot as one cohesive project. Because if I can, through engineering, figure out a road connection through here and coming out here and then out here, I can angle these and double the amount of parking at the museum. So I'm going to look at it holistically, but the main goal is to get pedestrian from here. But to do that, I may be messing with all of this and then just have a better parking situation in this location.
In the past, I believe, not that long ago, the west end was opened up. So you pulled in and it was angled parking. And you pulled out like where that blue car is at the end.
Right here?
No, the other, the west end.
Oh, they're here.
Yeah, there was an exit right there.
Okay.
So you pulled in on the east side.
Pulled in here.
Yeah.
And then you went out that way.
And there was angled parking.
Do you know what happened and why that design went away?
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember off the top of my head why,
Yeah.
but there was at one point, not like in less than the last 20 years, probably.
20 years, okay. Yeah.
That changed and they closed it off and
Yeah.
changed parking
So-
and brought down, the number of parking spots.
Right, and I don't know why they would have done that. So this is going to be a joint effort between the village and DuPage, because this is the DuPage County who owns this. But we are the ones who are going to be asking them to do it because we're engineering it, we're designing it, we're paying for it. We just need them to approve any work that gets completed on their property. But that is the strategy. How do we maximize these stalls that are already in here for pedestrian connectivity, and then as an alternate, how do we redesign this to maximize these parking stalls? So, yeah, single loaded parking is significantly expensive because you're already paying for the drive aisle, but you're only taking advantage of one side of it. It doesn't make sense to me. So, how do we one-way this and 45 of them, if you will? So
Yeah,
that's
I'm curious to see why they
Yeah.
made that change.
and once we make that initial phone call or email, maybe they'll have a story for me, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we couldn't get over this hump. Well, we can engineer that now, so let's figure it
It
out,
might
right?
have been that path connector went in.
Yes.
That
This very well, yeah.
that's possibly, I think, why it changed.
Sure, quite possibly. So now that we have the tri-trail connector and some other stuff, we can look at it much more holistically. So yeah, again, there's audit dollars in there, there's legal expenses in there, and then I have one facade, one tenant, and one site grant. It's a significantly smaller TIF, so I just have one of each.
And a lot of the businesses have already taken advantage of
Also true.
the facade improvement program.
Also true. Yeah, the older program. Correct. Yep. And then the last one on other contractual is the Kenilworth Townhomes. So you guys are familiar, Kenilworth Townhomes. We are already have a redevelopment agreement with them that they get paid out their increment every year, and it's approximately $55,000. So they're not doing anything. That is an annual payment that we pay to them when they pay their taxes. We give them back some of it. All right, then on capital outlay, we have the marketing signage for Old Town. So as part of the comprehensive plan, There's a rebranding mechanism to that where this particular area gets branded as Old Town. The Ardmore is the historic Ardmore, and then just while hitting it, TIF 6 is Uptown. So actually creating a sense of place with those three names. So that is the marketing signage for Old Town.
Uptown is the train station area.
That's correct. Yep, correct. Yep. Yeah, it's north, so up.
Sure.
Yeah, and then this had always been, Villa Avenue, Old Town, or whatever. So it's losing the Villa, and it's just saying it's Old Town. Just call it Old Town. So
We've struggled with it.
Yeah.
I mean, Old Town's kind of stuck for a while, but
Yeah.
there's been
I'll be living in
no
Uptown
good,
again.
real good name.
yeah. So as a creating a sense of place with signage and color, and we're going to spend some dollars
district.
and create the actual district. That's correct. Yep. Create the actual Uptown district, or sorry, Old Town district. Uptown is somewhere else, but yes.
Got it.
And then so that's that. And then there are some dollars for physical improvements on the connection for the Park Boulevard to Prairie Path. That's if we can get through all of the engineering next year, bid it out, and then potentially start spending some money in the fall, and then the rest of that money would be spent in the 2026 budget. So this is if we get ahead of ourselves and we can actually spend some dollars. We just put $100,000 in there. Maybe it's demolition, maybe it's some initial grading or cut or something. It's not the whole project, but it's something so that we
Get it
can
started.
exactly. So we don't have to wait till a whole nother. We can bid it, we can get good pricing and that kind of stuff.
Is the area that's the parking lot now, is that Villa Parks?
Nope.
No,
Nope.
that's under a separate.
This is DuPage County. Yep. Yep. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All
Where
the
the
way
Union's
north,
going?
north of
Up
the,
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Western Trail.
Yeah, this whole block is owned by the village, and this is the Union project is going on this site. Yep, and this is actually in TIF 7.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's a new, that was just created specifically for that.
I got
Correct.
you.
Yeah, and we'll get there for
Yeah,
TIF 7.
sorry.
Yeah.
Wrong too.
Yeah. So the line is here now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is TIF 5.
Okay.
This
And
little-
Ovaltine included.
No, Ovaltine was
Oh.
TIF 2.
Okay.
Ovaltine was TIF 2, which is closed. No more money coming in out of
So-
TIF 2. TIF 2 is closed.
Ovaltine went into 7 then?
Nope.
I'm-
Ovaltine is not in anything.
it's, okay. Got it. I see it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were their
Yep.
own TIF that
They,
expired.
TIF 2 was just Ovaltine, and that expired a couple years ago. And we did our final payout 2 years ago, and then I did my very last TIF JRB on it this year. So it is done. I reported $0 in and $0 out. So then that's how it's done. If a dollar comes in, I have to report it the next year. Finally, it's zeroed out. TIF 2 no longer exists. And then we have land acquisition for $150,000. This is kind of a placeholder in case something happens. Hey, I want to get out of here. I'd like to sell to the village. Or, hey, I've got this dilapidated building. You want to buy it from me? Yes, I'll buy it from you. I've got some dollar in here to do something with it. It's just
What are you going to find for 150,000?
right. No, it's something, right? It's less. Sorry, it's more than zero.
It's a down payment.
It's something, right? And if I have to cut a deal, hey, I will buy half now and half in 26, right? I've done those deals because whatever, you get some money now, but then we're gonna close on it in 26, so you can do a 1031 exchange, all those things. So it's something to acknowledge that someone may want to unload something, and we can make something happen. So. So that's TIF 5. Any questions on TIF 5? Cool. All right, TIF 6. Bum, bum, bum. All right, TIF 6. All right, so there's Metro
That's Old
Station. This is Uptown.
Uptown, sorry.
Uptown.
It's going to take me a little bit.
It's okay. Yeah, that's why we got to brand it. We're gonna brand it so it just punches you in the face, and you're gonna all just remember it. Yep. We have So this is a scenario where we have multiple property owners that have access on an alley that is the village's alley that is not in a standard condition that is really kind of acceptable today. So we are going to spend some money on engineering this alley to put a curb, actually pave it, and then so that you can have connection through both streets, east and west, and then construct it. So engineering is $1 amount. That's the 25,000 under other contractual engineer West Terrace Alley, and then below that in capital outlay is West Terrace Alley. So that's then to build it. So we want to complete all of that this year. We believe those dollar amounts will get this accomplished this year. As you can see, there is no parking on the front. There's no garages, no anything. Everything is off the rear, which is off of a public alley. We should have been treating this like a
Little
public
better.
street
Yeah.
the entire time, and now we're at a point where we can't ignore it any longer, and so the village has to do something.
And
So,
it gets used because it's
Oh,
their only
yeah.
access.
100%, absolutely, constantly used. So yeah, I mean, there's like trees in the middle of the alley that have grown scrub and just trash. Like
Yeah.
this is not acceptable
Been
to any
ignored.
standard today. So similar but different, but similar with the North Avenue townhomes that we talked about. This is going to then increase and enhance the livability and the acceptable level of these 6 individual lots. And this is a
And it's
8
been
unit
neglected.
and an
It's
8
been-
unit. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's the strategy here. Additionally, it is a shared entrance with this commercial and this commercial, so it's going to create a dedicated actual entrance for where the residents are supposed to be going separate from these two, kind of defining where this should be. So it's safer. It's going to increase property values overall. It's going to be a better experience for the residents there, and it's not insignificant. I mean,
Right.
these are,
Yeah, there's 6 or probably 6 units on each
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
At least.
Yep. Yeah, so that's that, and it's not a large amount. It's only 75,000. Like to accomplish this for that number of people, price per person, no brainer. We have some dollars for surveying work for across the way. As we were talking about, whatever happens here, we know we need to survey some of this parking lot. It's a nominal amount of 25,000 for surveying. We also have legal that's always in there. And then, as you can see, we have 150,000 for an Ecoterra agreement. We are under an approved RDA right now that if this project is off the ground, there may be a payment that needs to be made next fiscal year, and so we budgeted $150,000. They have until January 6th to make it all happen. If they do, great. And then we've got some dollars budgeted. And then again, we've got 1 facade grant, 1 tenant grant, and 1 site grant. That's basically, this is that block, right? If one of these commercial guys
Did their
can pick up-
grants get used last year for TIF 6 for the facade?
No, because we just created it last year.
Okay,
We
they didn't
just-
have any. They didn't have any grants available in that district before.
TIF 6 didn't have any grants
Okay.
even on the old program.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
I don't
So, yeah.
remember hearing anything. That's why I was wondering. If there was,
No, it wasn't. That was
even
not
that.
an eligible
Got it.
TIF. It was 4, 5, and 3. So if one of these commercial units, one of these guys wants to take advantage, then we budgeted 1 for each. So we'll see what happens. And then again, the marketing signage for Uptown, rebranding that beast, and then finaling it out back to that alley for actual capital outlay. That's construction.
Can you scroll to the east a little bit, Mark?
Absolutely.
Okay, that area, right along the railroad tracks.
the green area.
That green,
The triangle there?
yeah, right there.
This triangle? Yep.
A couple of years ago, we had a presentation about building in that area because that was originally railroad land that was deeded back to the village.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
No.
Well, there was a presentation for an assisted living or a nursing home.
Yes.
That was gonna be-
that was
that was
this
gonna be there.
property.
That's it over there.
Yeah, that's this.
Whatever happened to that?
They went silent, waiting to see what happened on the Ecoterra property.
Okay.
they're still interested. They call me probably every quarter to ask for an update and see what's happening.
That was gonna be like a 7-story project.
It had 7-story at the highest. That's correct. Yep. Yep.
It's like what happens when we lose all that parking? Because it's all train station parking, right?
Right.
Well, lose parking may not necessarily be the actual response.
Oh,
You
okay.
can build podium and
Yeah,
have parking on below it.
There's
Ah,
incredible,
so you
like,
have
shared
okay,
parking.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like you just put a
Just
footprint.
move.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
you go
Just
up in the
go
air
up,
and make
Gotcha.
some
Similar
certain
to Union,
accommodations.
I mean, they're kind of.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Union is 2 levels of parking, 5 on top for 7.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you treated it similarly, where the first floor is your Metro.
Yeah.
then
Second floor private.
Exactly.
So that space is in TIF 6 as well then?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Yeah. And then that go. Let me just. It stops at a certain point. Yes. So this stormwater basin is not in TIF 6, but this parking lot is. Mm-hmm. And then it comes up here, and then over, and then.
And
And then
Ecoterra
around.
went basically down Ardmore Avenue to the train station, like that whole block. was-
Yeah, so if you
Yeah, to
follow
there,
this
right
red
here.
line,
Yeah.
this is the footprint of
For
the
Ecoterra.
project, not the footprint of the
Sure,
building.
but that was all, right, and then
Mhm.
what Larry is referencing was just to the east of it.
Yep,
Okay.
that was this.
Right.
Including the right of way. They came down to this one, so encompassing the right of way and the train station, because they would do a new train station as part of it. So it's basically this.
Correct.
And there's gonna be like commercial spots on the first floor of the nursing facility, right?
They
Yeah.
had something here on this frontage, correct, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yep. Yes. So boop, boop, back up. So yeah, that's TIF 6. Not as much happening, obviously. It's smaller, and there's a project they're waiting for, and so there's only so much I can do.
Would it fall, getting any type of bridge or anything, cross connection of the train track, is that something that?
There is nothing south of the tracks in TIF 6, so
Okay.
none of
It's
that would be
all-
TIF eligible. It would
Okay.
only be up here. So any land acquisition down here would have to be
Separate.
on our own dime. Correct.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I think there was a plan for Villa having that though. There was some discussion at one of the board meetings.
Yeah, Ardmore makes the more logical sense
Oh,
based
they're
on
gonna
the
do
study.
Ardmore. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Uh-huh.
They were gonna do a study on this.
Mhm.
I gotcha.
So you can go underneath and then come up and go over the big hill that they just repaired
Yeah.
3-4 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because then if it's on Ardmore,
If you're heading south, get a
the
skateboard.
idea is that now you're continuous flow without any track crossing.
Yeah.
Where here you have 2. So if I did one here, I still have
That
one.
makes sense.
If I do one here, I still have one. But
Right,
this
okay,
is
right.
already done. So now you can have, who cares how many trains we have, if we can get free and clear. You know what I mean? Like that's the idea.
No,
Yeah.
I just think of
Yeah.
the elevation changes.
Which honestly is why it has to be engineered so it's not a roller coaster.
Right,
That
I mean,
that the underpass or overpass is actually long enough
Yeah.
so that you are smoothed
Gradual.
out.
I
Mhm.
mean, it could be.
No, you're right.
You could
Right, if you hit that beast in there,
If you're
Dukes
going
of Hazard.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and there is already a natural grade change here because of the tracks. So if you take that into your advantage on deciding if you should go over or under, you should go under because this is high. And so you
Yeah.
start somewhere around here is dipping, then you get your full 12 feet, and then you come back up, and then you're back at grade at the
Right.
stop sign.
Before you
Yeah.
hit the.
It's basically, let me do this, yeah. From here to here, it's basically a 2-block underpass.
Trans
Yeah.
Mhm.
pose.
Yeah, you're not doing it from, parking lot in to parking lot out. Woo! So, but that's why engineers do all this and why it takes forever and also why it's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, as part of the budget process was doing the phase 1 engineering for that. That was in there.
Okay.
The village received a grant for that. And so we're going to get 50% of the engineering costs back to do that study, to take it one step further and say, all right, here is actual pen on paper of how we would design this thing. All right, what do we got next? TIF 7. So TIF 7,
New one.
is the new one, also known as the St. Charles Commercial Corridor. So this is St. Charles right down here, and as you guys remember, it starts at our far east, and it, I guess, stops at our far west, however you want to say that, but it's the entire corridor, right? So it's brand new, so we're not expecting a lot of revenue. It's just that incremental change from when we started to the next year, just a natural property value increase. There's been no significant improvements to really juice that increment. It's just attrition. So 100,000. It is a placeholder. If it's less than that, okay, because I need to put something. And if it's less, great. If it's more, then I know next year, all right, that's where my baseline is, and now I can add 2.5%, and then that's our natural growth, right?
Okay.
Home Avenue parking is the engineering for. Oh, I lost my place. There we go. So you're very familiar with Home Avenue. It's where we are right now. We would like to do an engineering and construction project to increase the public parking on Home Avenue in this very deep parkway right here. We know there's not an adequate parking for all of our residents and users who come and visit Village Hall and Public Works for permitting and even the police department. So we would like to put an engineer new parking in this location right here. There is already some, and so we want to basically continue that with it, keeping this access. So here, access, and then continuing this way through here.
So straight, not diagonal.
Correct, straight, yep. It's gonna look a lot like this, except it won't be permeable pavers. This was part of the project for here, so it had to be, but this is just gonna be straight, good old fashioned asphalt and concrete.
Yep.
So we've got 20,000 to engineer that because there are some grade changes, and so we do want it to be potentially one handicap accessible stall, and you have to make sure we meet our grades on that. So we're gonna actually engineer this, make sure it's done right, and then at the very last one of that is the construction for it for $50,000.
How
So.
many spaces? I don't think that's.
They're going to be 9 feet wide. So we would do as many as we possibly can. We'll most likely lose this connection because this is just for staff, but this is the main one for the thoroughfare here because our access is right here, right? That's our door. So we're probably going to lose that. We'll lose one tree, but we still have 2 on this side. So
You probably get 10 spaces.
that's yeah. We scaled it out and got an idea, and it was like, oh, it's totally worth it because that's our day-to-day operations there. Nobody has to figure out how to park here while they're trying to get a permit, right? So, so it's a public improvement for everybody. So Home Avenue parking is what that is, and then we also have 1 facade, 1 tenant, and 1 site grant budgeted. Obviously, we're trying to do redevelopment opportunities in this corridor, tear down, rebuild, somebody investing. But, man, it'd be really great if someone wants to just redo their existing brick building and give us a new storefront. We'll help you with the facade. We already talked about some locations, so we're hoping maybe one of those guys pulls the trigger next year and we can help them out. So, and then the last one there is the union agreement. So this is still in TIF 7, but all the way down here, right here. If we can get that deal done, closed, and if some reason that there's a payment necessary to happen next fiscal year, we have dollars spent to make that happen. So 150,000 on that. It might be premature, and that 150 may not get spent at all. Totally fine, but if it's spent, that's a good thing because we're moving forward and they're cranking early. So. And the last one for under capital outlay is $500,000 for land acquisition. So similar to what I was saying with TIF 5, wrong click. TIF 5, if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I really want to get this," and I put 150,000, $500,000 on the St. Charles corridor is for real. We're actually gonna try and make a deal with someone who says, "I'm done with my business. No one bites. I just want to get rid of the dirt." Great, I'm here. Let's go to contract and we can acquire that. And we'll figure out demo later. Let's just get you over the hump and get you out of there so that we can actually flip it and get someone who's really ready, willing, and able to develop. And that's anywhere on the corridor. So it's a placeholder to maybe, moving and shaking and make something happen. So, but $500,000 it was real. Someone's going to come to us knowing that the TIF's going, knowing that the union's going. Something's going to happen hopefully. So. Yeah, and then as I said, the Home Avenue parking is the last one for construction. That's actual construction. Any questions on TIF 7?
So with tip 7.
Yeah.
When we're looking at the intersection of St. Charles and Ardmore,
St. Charles and Armour, yes.
right there. Has there been any thought or, ideas how or what could happen to that corner if Walgreens closed that location? They've been closing a lot of locations around the country. Has there been any ideas about that corner
There has not.
or a concern or anything?
I have not had a concern about Walgreens closing this location because their script count is high. So, if they have a high prescription count, they are healthy.
Okay.
And so we know that the script count is high here, and so I have not had that concern that they've been closing some low performing stores. I do not believe this to be a low performing
Yeah,
store.
I'll say it seems pretty active, that intersection.
Yeah.
And then, at one time, we had a conversation about developing outlets of the Jewel parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we just talked about that recently. Yeah. The problem and the hiccup and the banging my head against the wall is that this is owned by the Albertson REIT and not by Albertson, the parent company. So this is tied in with like 75 other properties as an acquisition, and they're again similar to IDOT. You call and nobody's there. So
Good luck, yeah.
exactly. And realistically, once the transaction goes through regarding Albertsons and Mariano's and Kroger and all that, that would be the time to see where the dust settles and who the new owner is at that time.
They thought they weren't gonna be able to,
They're
but.
not doing it. Just the other day it was in the paper.
I was
Yeah,
still
it was
waiting.
A couple days ago, I thought I heard something.
Okay.
It was in the paper that Jewel backed out of it or
Yeah, I heard
they're
something
waiting
like
for
that.
them.
Yeah,
I
in the
heard
last
that.
week.
They're redoing it.
Because I knew the courts were still making a decision, so I haven't heard where it came down
I
yet.
thought
So,
that it didn't,
Something in the paper
yeah.
the other day.
right. So yeah, we can check into the status.
Sure.
But usually it's like I wait for the court decision, and then Cranes
Yeah.
gives me the article that says, all right, now what happened, right? But yeah, that is that hang up here. It's not a local guy for me to just call and cut a deal. It's it's a REIT on Wall Street. So, but yeah, it is still an idea that we would like to accomplish. Imagine drawing that line straight across, right? And then centralized access. So, yeah.
And then scrolling on east.
So I got a quick, sorry,
Yeah.
while you're looking at that.
Yeah.
The VFW just owns the parking then to the south, even though most of they utilize to the west.
That is correct. They're a shotgun lot. Yep.
Okay.
They are right here, and then this again back is
Literally.
Albertsons. Yeah.
Literally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. This is VFW ownership. So yeah, you out there, you have no idea, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this
yeah,
is an
yeah.
imaginary
I'm there all
line
the
out there,
time,
right?
so-
Yep.
My car's probably parked then in this picture somewhere. I didn't jewel that much. Okay.
Yeah, and then this is then Albertson back here again. So
Okay.
And then right here, south of Jewel, that used to be.
this
That's a
Yeah.
recycling village.
is owned by the village.
Right.
This is owned by DuPage because this is that bike path.
Mhm.
And then we've definitely scope creeped down here because it's been like that forever. So
And it looked like that was getting cleaned out at one time.
it is actively getting cleaned out at a very slow pace.
What is its use?
It's mostly storage. The pool, some of the pool fences and ladders and I don't know, just random equipment gets here. When the police take in an impound for like drugs and stuff, they'll put it here for the vehicles. Exactly, these are just police seized cars, like
Gotcha.
because it's
So just
secured.
storage,
It's a
outdoor
secured
storage.
site, so
I got you.
yeah, and they can't get rid of it until the courts tell them they can get rid of that kind of scenario. So like, but we don't want it here.
Well, and it's
You
not
know what I
secured
mean?
li- it's not
Exactly.
secured
No.
line.
So they put it back here behind the thing. So that's what most of these
Yeah,
are.
it's not really a desirable
No.
lot for
No.
any type of commercial improvement.
No, it's just far too narrow.
Yeah.
So Yep, and then I know there's some public record and some old engineering drawings and stuff in this building and stuff like that. So it's just, you know, it is what it is. But yes, it should be cleaned up. At least it's better than what this aerial shows today. If you went out there, so it is. It's just you're going east. You're
over
going
by
east.
the
Larry.
old,
Yeah.
Bridal building and things.
Oh, all the way down. Yep.
Yeah.
She got new signage and her liquor license.
She did. So Alma is the owner of 621 East St. Charles.
And that's in TIF 7 as well.
It is in TIF 7. So she did the entire build out. You've seen her new parking lot. It doesn't look like this anymore. We added stalls this direction. This is double sided now. We really increased her parking. This comes up all the way to the access point. This is now a large covered patio out here for an outdoor events. And yes, and you saw she flipped out the signage in her existing sign, and it is Epic Banquets. And she got her liquor license awarded last Monday. We'll be issuing it next year in 2025, right?
She gets me everything.
That was the goal, yeah.
It's gonna be a 2025.
Yeah, it's going to be a 25 license, yeah. She's not operating in 24. We're in 24,
In the
right?
next 2 weeks?
Yeah,
I
no,
know.
I know, what year is it
Today's
right
the 18th already?
Jesus. Where am I? Yeah, so she will be a 25 liquor license issuance and all that stuff. So yeah, full build out. We've been inspecting it for
What's this
the last
parking
year.
lot to the southwest?
This parking lot to the southwest is the former bank.
There used
Oh,
to be a
okay.
building.
You can kind of see that footprint still.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the former bank parking lot
Okay.
that is owned by the same entity that owns this, which is where the jewelry exchange is.
It's got a lot more weeds in it now than that picture.
Yeah.
I just drove through it the other day.
Yep, Yorkies.
Yucky. Huh?
So you really only have that residential.
Yorkies is right here. This is
Yeah.
Yorkies, and so this is the village line between us and Elmhurst.
Oh.
So this is Elmhurst. No.
No, but Yorkies and
Yeah.
Uh-uh. Once you cross over the
Still
creek,
excited.
Salt Creek.
But it's not ours.
You can still be excited. It's okay. Just it's not going to taste as good. That's all. Yeah. So this is the jewelry exchange. So this is owned by Pacific Nut Company. They're a nut company out of Southern California. So they just own it as landlords, and
Have they considered any improvements for that?
we can't get a hold of them.
Oh, really?
They do not return our calls. They don't care. Sight unseen. We don't care about Villa Park.
Gotcha.
I have a theory, and this is total hearsay, is that they're a Pacific Nut Company out of California. That when they bought property in Villa Park, they thought it was Villa Park, California.
Yeah.
So I'm not that.
Orange County.
That is my personal
10 miles
theory.
from
I
Disney.
really think that someone was like, "Oh, look at this sweet deal! It's in Villa Park," and then corporate just bought it, and they're like,
Oops.
dude, how do we unload this? So that's but no one
Okay.
calls us. We can't get the time of day for them. So, but one of these days, if we get a hold of them, I'm going to ask them.
Pretty funny.
Anything else on TIF 7? Cool. Hearing none. Next up, BDT. BDT, Business District Tax. It is very similar to a TIF, except it is not on land, it is on sales tax. So you don't get the increment through value, you get the small percentage on the sales tax. So the BDT is in this block right here. This is Wildfire, the main area. This is that little stage, and then they got their training and all that good stuff. The auto place that I love their sign out there.
What's it? No matter how long it takes, right?
Yeah.
Fast service, no matter how long it takes.
Yep. We'll give you the fastest service no matter how long it takes. It's right here. And then the Mexican restaurant, which I cannot remember the name of, which is
Los
right here.
Burritos Mexicanos.
Thank you. So this block. Number two?
No,
Perfect.
that's number
This block is the BDT. So any sales tax we collect on this goes to a fund that we are able to use on only this area. I can't use it anywhere else. Yep. So basically we've been cutting agreements. We've got a wildfire agreement, and then we have the Polaris agreement.
Which is only like 2 years old, right? The Polaris
The
is
Polaris we inked last year.
last year, so
Mhm.
not even 2 years.
Yep, correct. So we actually haven't paid on it yet. Yeah. So the wildfire agreement was to help them offset their costs to do the build out, and they have to hit a minimum threshold in order to get paid. So they have to make a certain amount of sales to even get paid. They haven't met it every year. So we've collected their sales
wow.
tax, their BDT sales tax, and because they didn't meet their threshold, it stayed in our account.
Okay. So
Yeah.
their incentive or whatever, they didn't get it. I mean, not their incentive.
They
There was an incentive, a sales
they-
tax relief incentive, basically.
correct because they didn't meet the prerequisite.
Yeah.
You basically had to do enough business
Yeah.
in order to get your
To
money back,
qualify for
and
it.
there were a couple years that they didn't.
So the village made the deal and
Mhm.
made
Yeah.
out on it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's still going. It's still active, and so we budgeted 10 grand to give them back, assuming that they do hit their deal, hit the metrics on their deal. And then the Polaris deal was if they spend up to $1 million in reinvestment to bring the Polaris brand here. So building improvements, site improvements, signage, office build out, all those things. If they spent $1 million in improvements, we would then give them back the equivalent in their sales tax until they hit their $1 million. So if they $1 million permit, great, thank you guys, and then sell $25,000 worth of sales tax on Polaris, we give them back $25,000 until they hit up to that $1 million.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. And this is, as Chair pointed out, this would be the first year that we pay them because we inked it in 24, early 24. So, and yeah, most of this is just collect it and build up an account large enough so that before the BDT expires, just like a TIF would expire, then we do one major, probably infrastructure improvement in this area with those dollars, assuming that we have dollars there. And that's most likely like repairing this road or, doing some sort of intersection improvements here. We have time, so we don't have to make that decision right now, but that would be the intent.
And so that TIF, I'm sure it's on this other map, but it
Mhm.
only goes to that edge of that block. It doesn't, because it doesn't go north of into the residential area
Correct.
at all. Or
It does
anything like
not.
that,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yep. Because unlike a TIF, the BDT is only on
Oh,
sales
gotcha,
tax.
gotcha.
So
It's different again. This is
exactly. It's a
different.
different. It's a different beast. So yeah, I wouldn't want to capture any residential
Got it,
in there. Yeah. But the road is available because it accesses these commercial spaces. Yeah.
The
So-
parking lot and everything owned by separate entities, like all the different,
No, they just. This used to be a road that came through here,
okay.
and then when that got vacated,
There was
these
like a
lots
Popeye's
got
chicken-
extended.
Was there Popeye's chicken there or something? Wasn't it in that?
Was there? I don't know.
think there was something that has been removed and they purchased the land and then
Oh.
built that storage
This
area.
guy.
I think it was Popeye's
Yeah.
chicken, or not.
I think it
Popeyes.
was.
Was it Popeye's?
Popeyes,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was before me. So, so this was a road, platted road, Princeton, that came through. So this was that original Princeton connection. And then as part of the wildfire agreement, this got vacated. The original lots that were on Princeton got extended to that center line. And that's why you see how wide this is, because this was off of North Avenue.
Gotcha.
So you can kind of see that. And then these two were off of Ardmore. Yeah, so, but yeah, they just own them, they just never consolidated it.
Gotcha.
They own the street?
The street got
Street got
vacated,
vacated.
so it's no longer a
Private
street.
property.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. They own the dirt underneath where the street used to be.
Because I used to use that street a lot. So.
Yeah, yeah. And so that is why, if you guys look,
Well,
if
there's
you're
Broadway
out here,
Drive.
that's why there's the design the way that it's designed, so that it wasn't still used as a street. This is on purpose, with
Yeah.
elevated and a hump and all, like,
Yeah.
yeah, they had to basically break the mindset of people that have been here for
Sure.
ever.
Yeah.
And just
This
use
is
it
not
for
a street.
Los Burritos McDonald's, you now have to go way out around, like,
Yeah.
go out the back end and then go way outside the
Yep.
street instead of
Yep, exactly.
going through.
Yep. So, yeah, that's what that design is for. Yeah, so that's the BDT. Any questions on that?
No, thank you.
Cool.
Is that the only one we have?
It is the only one we have. Yep. Yep, this one block. Cool. That is my presentation.
Okay. Just to that, did, one of the was there a car dealership that had an agreement, that we don't have an agreement with, like, that Dream Cars or something like that?
We
as
do not
well?
have an
A
agreement
sales tax,
We do not have an
Okay.
agreement with Dream
got it.
Cars.
I think they maybe
No.
moved or something once, but,
We have an agreement with Haggerty.
no.
And
Okay. I thought it was one of the used
Uh-huh.
car dealerships, maybe, I think they've since moved maybe. but,
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you, I
Mhm.
appreciate it very much, Director McLaughlin, that was
Anytime.
very informative. On to number 4, public comments, I don't see anybody from the public here, so we'll move on to number 5, commissioner comments. Ethan, start with you if you have anything.
I don't have anything
Okay.
right now. Nope.
Larry,
No, I don't have anything either.
got it?
This was really interesting. Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
Really, really informative. Thank you.
Sure. John?
Yep, nothing for me.
JP?
Nothing for me.
Okay, I did do, a business retention visit. Is it possible to pick up, so I had Old Globe, Taco Villa, and Atomic Transmission. I tried Old Globe a couple times, I went in and I left it in my card, if they wanted to do it over the phone, I'd never heard back from them.
Sure.
I did not make it into Taco Villa, I still have maybe 12 days, but, I did make it to Atomic Transmission.
They contacted you, or you just?
Old Globe, are you talking about, or
Or
Taco Villa?
the person that you?
No, I contacted, I
Okay.
reached out to everybody.
Oh,
And I talked with Frank Gentile at Atomic Transmission. I was going to thank you for leaving that up there. That's just to the east of where we were talking about at Wildfire there.
Yep.
I went and talked with him about 2 weeks ago. The business has been in business for 53 years. They've been, Frank has owned it for 47 years. It's been at that location for 53. I guess the business has actually been around longer. They were originally in Elmhurst. They do transmission repair. They have quite a large property. I don't know if it's all exactly connected to Atomic, but they've got all kinds of vehicles over there that they're working on, police cars from different districts and things like that. I asked them, what was, again, question number 2, what factors made you choose Villa Park? It was the proximity to where he lived, and they moved from Villa Park to Elmhurst due to the North Avenue exposure. So, again, quite a while ago, but I still was getting a lot of exposure back there 53 years ago. Any issues you encounter while starting out your business? So Frank, a little back history, he owns not only Atomic Transmission, he owns several properties in Villa Park, some apartment buildings. He owns the building that like Lunar is in on St. Charles Road in that TIF district. So I don't think this was exactly with Atomic. He felt the village was sometimes discouraging to some businesses. The answer quite often is no right away, where he does work in some other towns where they're a little more open-minded, as he put it, where they might give you some different options rather than just kind of say no. Now, that can also be more of his historical take on it, just an FYI. And he definitely was not negative on it. Those were just, if he had anything that was discouraging with the village, that would be it. He does not have any parking concerns at that location.
Oh, yeah, it's a sea of
He's
parking.
got plenty and it's gated. Any safety concerns? His quick answer was no, but then he did say he had some past issues with Strats.
Yeah.
Not directly with Strats itself, but the car shows
Yep.
that they were having,
Yep.
where they had to. So Frank also owns where the Crazy Pour
Yep.
bar is, and the
Directly across the
OTB,
street.
which is very near, across from him there, but again near Strats, all that thing. I think both locations basically had to hire security guards
Yes.
in the evening, and because people were parking in there, camping out. They're on private property. They're probably doing, I'm assuming, burnouts and things like that. So he did say that he had some issues with Strats. That should all be in the past with that situation.
Yep.
But other than that, no safety concerns.
Cool.
Any plans moving forward regarding to expanding? He has capacity to expand, but he has no plans to. His primary customers are located statewide from Morris, Illinois to Indiana. He does have, like I said, several municipal accounts with, I think he said 15 police departments, the US Post Office. He named some commercial businesses like Mead Electrical, I think, and several like
Oh.
HVAC companies that he has been working with for years. So he's got a pretty good customer base. The pandemic did not really affect him, other than he had trouble with employees, hard to find. The business was not affected, but like we heard from many people, the employees were hard to keep and sometimes find during that time. How can we as the Village of Villa Park support you? He said he would like to see more support for everybody as a whole, where if there's a rule for one person, it's continuous across the board, which I think we are making an effort to do.
Absolutely.
Again, probably more of a historical thing, but, sometimes maybe in the past it was sometimes who you knew a little bit in certain situations. But that was it. He was very positive on, obviously he owns a lot of property in town, and is definitely for Villa Park. He's all about it. But those were,
Cool.
that was
Excellent.
his.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I did submit in the Google Forms. I don't know how to quite access that. I'm not, like, my answers once they're in there.
Yeah.
Is there
I'll
a-
give you the access, Mark.
Yes.
Is there an app, Google Forms, that I would then go,
You just, I could share it with, I don't
Okay.
know how to.
Is it in an Excel, like after you send it to Google Forms?
You could turn it into
It's
Excel.
Google Sheets.
Oh,
You could turn it into
Sheets,
Google
yeah.
Sheets, yeah.
I guess maybe if,
I
That's
can-
right, I forgot the.
so instead of either I can access, so that we can all access each other's, or can we maybe do a printout of the ones we did for 2024? Because I'm pretty sure Patrice did quite a few, and there were some others. Is there a way to do, maybe just so we can all?
Yeah, we can do
or-
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I don't know if Patrice used the form. Did she use the form?
not
We
quite
can,
sure.
I can combine it all together. if
Okay.
it's-
Okay.
Not to create, but let's, just to see, it was a new program,
Yeah, get a summary.
just to
of things.
see if kind of,
Yeah.
See a
how many
pattern.
of us hit our marks, or, I
Yeah.
obviously didn't.
Yep.
But just, and then also just to have the information for each other, but.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that program? And, maybe we could talk about that early next year, once we see our notes from,
Yep.
from this year, and see if it's something we want to continue with for next year. Okay. That's all I have. Village Board Liaison comments, Deep is not here tonight. Staff Liaison comments.
I have nothing else.
Pat, do you have anything you'd like to say? Okay. If I could get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Second, John. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.